Wishapick, 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 land so bright and new. Wishapick, 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 a land where wishes come true.
Hello, best wishes to you today. I am M.M. Allen, and you've entered the podcast Wishapick, where prayer, creativity, and the divine gently coexist. The last time we were together, we talked about being stuck and changing our mindset from why God to asking the divine to show us and guide us through. Today, I'm going to be talking about grace. Grace is God's extension of love. Grace is energizing each of us for the benefit of everyone. Let's take a moment, pick a wish, now turn it into a prayer. I drop your intention into my heart. Your wish will become my prayer for you. As you communicate with the divine and acclimate towards love, I ask God to respond to your prayers. I pray the blessing of God's grace to touch you continually. Before recording this podcast about the spell of Goodwill in Wishapick, I had 2 dreams on consecutive nights. Each night I was given a phrase, clearly written and beautifully presented. The phrase presented the first night, I go towards love. I awoke and wrote it down. This phrase reminded me that love is the key to all good things. I know you know that too. But the second night's dream revealed a deeper meaning. The phrase presented the second night, the gates wide open. I awoke and wrote it down. The marvelous truth of this phrase, the gates are wide open to everyone. God's love extended with grace is available to everyone. With thankfulness, I contemplated the 2 phrases. I then put them together. The 2 phrases together read, I go towards love, the gates wide open. I repeated this combined phrase many times and shared it with a few people. I understood the surface meaning of the phrases I received from my dream. I believed on the surface the phrases put together resonated this thought. If you go towards love, the gates of possibility will be wide open. The divine wants us all on the same path, and that path is love. As I said the combined phrase aloud and walked around with goodwill in my heart for the words I received, I began to realize the depth of the combined phrases. I asked God to show me if my interpretation, which I now felt in my heart, was divine truth. As I've told you before, my gifts do not include quickly recalling scripture to share with others. I do not instantly recite the words of those who have gone before us, the great marvelous guides, those who have previously taught us, the great prophets and mystics of Christianity and others. Christ's words and the many other beautiful spiritual treasures are known to me through my heart. I read their words and then I practice the concepts until in some way they begin to exist within me. I received these dream phrases from the Spirit, whom we can definitely call holy. You see, as I repeated the phrase, it began to rest comfortably within me, and that is when gifts of love started to manifest all around me. Unbeknown to me, the divine had plans to physically show me the interpretation of the phrases I received so I can share them with you. A wildfire in the area in which I live brought about an unexpected early trip to the seaside. I arrived at my destination with thoughts of anxiety for my town and the lives and homes of all who reside there. I had planned the trip to the shore to walk an event called Circles in the Sand. Denny Dyke, a prayerful man, once told me in conversation, at this stage of my life, my prayers manifest all around me. Denny and his crew draw their magnificent creations in the sand in the early morning during low tide. They awaken a pathway, a meditative labyrinth in the sand. Later, the high tide washes the creations away, and they begin a new labyrinth on another day. This is love extended to us. I walked this labyrinth in the sand, not knowing the theme was love until I showed up to participate. Etched in the sand on this stunning beach called Face Rock was grace extended to me. All those walking that day, I proceeded to walk the labyrinth, and blossoming hearts in all shapes and sizes appeared alongside the manicured sand pathway. I saw an angel's wings and gifts of patterned starfish in intricate circles that when you look closely, they were hearts. Love, love, love was expressed through art along the pathway. The word love was written in words for each of us to contemplate as we walked in prayer and meditation. The essence of God's love was manifested along a meditative pathway where each participant, carrying their own private intention in their heart, walked. Here on this pathway, the divine affirmed my interpretation of the dream phrases. Towards the end of the walk on the manicured pathway of sand, these words were written: "Look into your heart and awaken the possibilities. I thank the divine. I thank labyrinth artist Denny Dyke and his volunteers." After I received the love of God, extended by grace in this spectacular physical format of circles in the sand, my dream interpretation was confirmed in my heart. The divine, in this form of creativity, gracefully gifted through Denny and his volunteers, brought me much peace, a peace that will remain with me forever. After my walk on the beach, when my thinking switched to worry or fear about those in my town, I spoke the words, "I go towards love, the gates wide open." You see, this phrase became a mental refresh for any fearful or anxious thoughts ongoing within my mind. I replaced the fearful or anxious thought with the phrase, "I go towards love, the gates wide open." Then I used the phrase when my thoughts concerning upsetting words that were hurled at me, or the damage and pain of someone's hurtful actions would continually reoccur in my mind. There is no fear, hatred, anger, or unworthiness except what exists at a moment in time in our thoughts. There's only love. The gate we open to judgment, condemnation, doubt, anger, fear, anxiety, bitterness, and complaint is a broken gate. Love is the open gate. The gift of grace is transformation to love, and it's free to everyone. God's grace is the divine's love extended. You do not have to earn God's grace. It lovingly and simply just comes. The divine's love softens and lightens your heart, even when you are troubled. Two lovely words in the dream phrase will provide change and transformation for our world. Go toward were the divine's favored words to me. Just go in the direction of love. It means you do not have to be perfect in love. You do not have to obtain it quicker than another. You do not have to work or perform for love. You do not have to compete for love. You do not have to catch love, and you do not have to hold it tight. You do not have to control love. Just go in the direction of love. You do not need to be special or important. It makes no difference how great your mistakes or how bad your troubles, as the gates are wide open. So simple, no work needed. God's love exists for you. Wherever or whatever you are doing, whenever you are angry, anxious, or afraid in your thoughts or in your actions, just go in the direction of love. Deborah's lyrics in the song of the Spell of Goodwill provide a clue on how to participate and receive God's love. In an embrace, there is love. God is embracing us daily with grace. Embrace the divine's gift of love. Give a nod always towards gentleness, to our humanness. Give a physical nod to others in knowing they too are loved. Keep your negative reaction to others at arm's length until you hear, see, or feel the voice of love. The miracle is in the last dream phrase of God's Word. It has been difficult for most of us to understand and feel worthy or capable to get through the narrow gate to God's love. It has been a constant vigil to manage the requirements needed to walk through. Have we done enough? All of us have carried such burdens and possessions which are unneeded. We are constantly stripping the baggage from our backs, a strident and fitful job, and then grabbing new, more comfortable baggage we have collected and putting it back on our backs, and then we start all over. We are all rich in baggage and possessions, which we haul around in our thoughts. We massage both our successes and mistakes. In our thoughts, we evaluate our good deeds and actions at our most painful, unfortunate moments. We carry physical possessions too, and we tend to them in the same way, casting this or that out and acquiring more, evaluating and sorting. But it is our thoughts which hold us captive. We can go towards love or become trapped in fear, anger, and anxiety. I humbly express to you, the gates are wide open. There is no narrow gate. It is no more. You need not be burdened. You need not anguish over your faults or worry over what could have been and wasn't because of your actions. You need not worry about how many mental or physical possessions you have been fiddling with for decades. You need not be ashamed. You need not worry about being forgiven. You are. You are absolved from all hurt you have caused, even to yourself. Others are forgiven too. You need not fear retribution that you have judged someone harshly. You need not hold yourself in contempt because of actions to others which cause them pain. You need not worry or fret about a judgment day. Grace forgives, the gates wide open. The divine's message for my dream to you right now, in every moment of trouble or concern, and any second of your life when you fear or become anxious, go in the direction of love. You do not need to seek more intellectual knowledge about love. You do not need to be under pressure to continual service so you can acquire more love. God's promise, the gates are wide open. The world is transforming, and soon you will know you are love. Your burdens and baggage have been removed. This is the Christ's miracle. It is unfolding now. You are love. It is time to participate and be unwavering in accepting God's grace. In Wishapick, Jack remembers the name of the breath of all good things. He humbly lowers his head and calls out the name, Tickety Boo. The wind blows and stars shaped like fairies appear. He receives the spell of goodwill and gains an understanding. In Wishapick, the villagers had forgotten how to communicate with the breath of all good things. They live in the dark, afraid. When Jack receives the spell of goodwill, Miss Bailey sees the change in Jack. She always believed that everything will be okay. When the name of the breath of all good things was remembered, she tells Jack, "It is unceremonious when you receive the spell of goodwill." She tells him there is immense change thereafter, and it's free. Miss Bailey recognizes it has been a long time since anyone has received the spell of goodwill. And of course, that is true. All the inhabitants in Wishapick live without sunlight, in the dark, and afraid. As a writer, I love words and their definitions. As a singer and songwriter, Deborah loves the shape of words in lyrics and melodies. The word spell is defined as a sign of something or someone. We use the word spell of goodwill in the make-believe land of Wishapick as a sign of God's goodness. The divine cannot be anything but goodwill. Jack receives Tickety Boo's goodwill after he remembers the name, and from his heart he calls it out loud. Before Jack started his journey, he believed no one could love him like his father had loved him. He was angry at his mother, and his sister constantly annoyed him. Before he entered the black trunk, Jack believed an untruth, that nobody loved him. When Winston disappears, he grieves his father's death. Jack finally understands the Queen's horrific fate and the danger facing the village of Wishapick. His heart opens. Jack softens to a new truth and invites the breath of all good things in. He receives the gift of goodwill, a gift of love. What used to be true for Jack, his belief that no one loved him but his father, was not true anymore. The goodwill extended by Tickety Boo already existed within Jack. It was resurrected. Jack makes a plan and extends the love reawakened within him to the villagers, and he participates in returning the light to Wishapick. In the world here on earth, God's goodwill is a gift. It is a gift seated deep within us, and has been here since the beginning of time. Each of us will awaken this goodwill already within, receive the divine's grace of love, and share it with someone. That is the Christ within, the pattern already ordained from the beginning of time. We are anointed to participate. The grace from God in our world is unceremonious. It is always free, and transformation occurs. For some of you, it may feel like it has been a long while since you received love. Some of you understand that God's love extended through grace was there for you to invite in, but you have forgotten how to participate. Some of you may feel you have never received love through God's grace. Some of you have forgotten the gift of love is open to everyone. Each of you will remember, as the Christ within has assured me. The gift of goodwill lives in each of you. It was placed there by the divine, and at this present time, it is largely unfolding within your world. In the song you're about to hear, The Spell of Goodwill, we are open to the presence of God's goodwill within each of us and within everything. Deborah's words and music reflect the beauty of God's gift of grace and goodwill to our world. In relating this inspired experience of writing this song, Deborah said, "I feel it came from a deep place of peace, and that is why it was such a pleasure to write. It was as if a jewel dropped right out of my heart into my mind, my hands, and my voice. It was truly from the divine place of love, a gift from heaven." Deborah's words were so true. I introduce you to the spell of goodwill.
I'm giving you this gift as free as the air, and when you receive it, a star will appear. Breathe it in and let your mind be still, for you've received the spell of goodwill. As simple as a smile or a warm embrace, it lives in pure wonder, beauty and grace. Breathe it in and let your mind be still, for you've received the spell of goodwill. The spell of goodwill can't be bought or sold. It's been here since the dawn of light, more precious than gold. The spell of goodwill travels by heart and echoes through the universe, a true work of art. Breathe it in, let your mind be still. Breathe it in, the spell of goodwill. Breathe it in, let your mind be still. Breathe it in, the spell of goodwill.
Deborah's beautiful song is a lovely reminder to us. The gift of goodwill exists within you. You are love, and when you acclimate to love, a star will appear. Receive the breath of all good things, and it will touch everyone. Thank you, Deborah. Next time, as I continue the behind the scenes in Wishapick, I will be talking about the village of Wishapick. The village, like the Garden of Eden, went dark, but the light returns. I go towards love, the gates wide open. My prayers are with you. Breathe in all good things. Goodbye for now. Tickety Boo.